I started modeling when I was 19 years old. I worked here locally in Miami for the first few years, and then I was doing shows for Saks Fifth Avenue. And one was in Miami, another was in Palm Beach. Both were very big designer fashion shows. The designers were from Paris, and they asked me to go back and do the shows in Paris the next week.
We were traveling mountains just to find the loudest seas.
And I went to Milan a month earlier just to give it a try, and because I knew I had those two jobs in Paris, so I said, let's go to Milan and let's see what happens. And it was wonderful. I ended up staying the first time for 9 months. Came home for about 4 weeks, turned around and went back. From there, there are so many opportunities. They fly you down to Nice, and then you hop on a helicopter to Monaco, and you're doing a jewelry show with millions and millions of dollars of jewelry, and you've got the guards chasing you from the runway to the dressing room, and I mean, there's stories go on and on and on. And I was one of the models that did not smoke. All the models back in the 80s smoked, and they'd be outside smoking. I was inside, talking to the lighting guys, talking to the choreographers, getting to know, how the shows worked and operated. And so just by osmosis, I actually, when I decided to retire from modeling, moved home and started Sobol Fashion Productions, a full-service fashion show production company. But it all began when I was hired to do a show in Guayaquil, Ecuador. And the organizers of that event had 21 designers from 12 Latin American countries. I spent 15 days with these designers, and at the end of the time, they all wanted to come back to Miami. Nobody knew how. And 2 years later, I launched the first Miami Fashion Week and brought them all here. So many of the designers that have grown and come here from Colombia, from Brazil, from Mexico, Guayaquil, Peru, just all over Latin America. They've all come to Miami. Argentina as well, through Miami Fashion Week. We helped them launch their careers in the American market. I went through 16 years of production, and then in 2015, I sold the event to a group of European investors who are now turning the brand into a television show. But I kept the two educational components of Miami Fashion Week. Caroline Herrera was my first special guest designer, and Caroline is actually the one who asked me to form a council that would represent the designers from Latin America as international rather than folkloric. Those were her words. And the next year I started the Council of International Fashion Designers, which is always the educational component of Miami Fashion Week. This is the part of the event where, I could see early on that the designers didn't know how to start a business in the American market. So I started bringing in attorneys and bankers and retail strategists and having seminars and workshops for them while they were coming to Miami to get ready for their fashion shows. Their fittings and rehearsals and all this. I'm throwing them into a class and a seminar and helping them to learn, what they needed to run their business. There's already so many things spawning from this. We're looking at, creating a fashion, accelerator program, fashion business accelerator program, like an incubator here in Miami. Miami is perfectly positioned to continue growing and building in the fashion and business sector. We are the hub of Latin America, and everybody in the world comes to Miami. From Europe, the Middle East, I don't care. Everybody comes to Miami. I would recommend for anyone that's entering the fashion industry to study. Look at your competition, look who's out there, and work hard at it. See what the different designers are developing. See how the models walk in different markets. See how the producers run different shows. You can find a lot of these things on the internet, of course. But then, and interning with, someone like me. I have a whole room full of interns working with us here today that we're training, how to work backstage in fashion show production. So find somebody to work with, and I recommend this for the designers entering the market too. They may have their own collection, but intern with a big designer in New York. Go work with him for a year or two, and you'll see how they really do business in this country. And you can do it with modeling, with production, with design work. It's all there, but educate yourself.
traveling